of our network on the U.S. side here domestically. And we want to say hello to our fellow consultants and colleagues in the cities of Los Angeles, California, Chicago, Illinois, Houston, Texas, Erie, Pennsylvania, New Haven and Hartford, Connecticut, and New York, New York. Let's give them a round of applause. Let them know we're live here in Charlotte today. You can do better than that. You can do better than that. All right. Representing the Queen City. Yeah. All right. Did you enjoy lunch? Was it sumptuous? Delicious? How's dessert? Excellent. Excellent. Well, you met our president and chairman of the board, Dr. Farzam Kamalabadi. We didn't officially introduce him, but he did want to give you his welcome. So we're going to bring him back. But before we do that, we want to bring back Raj Kamalabadi. He is the board executive director of Future Trends International Corporate Group. And we're going to have him to introduce his brother. So let's give him a round of applause as he comes forward, please.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm so glad to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. You are such a wonderful host. And thank you. Now, I was asked to talk about my brother, Farzam. Now, you can tell that if a brother talks about a brother, he cannot be unbiased. But I'll try to be as unbiased as I can. My brother Farzam came to the U.S. in his teens. And when he came with the idea that I, as one person in this world, am prepared to do whatever I can do to be a positive influence on my friends, my family, my society, my country, which is the new country, US, and the world as a whole. So with that, having high ideals and goals for himself, very early on, by some divine intervention, he was introduced to China and Chinese culture. And he took it so seriously that he dropped everything else in his life and dedicated his whole time, energy, and effort to China, learning Chinese, philosophy, language, culture. And he saw the potential in China. Now, this is back in the late 80s, early 90s. But he saw that vision, he saw this sleeping giant. And so in 1991, when there was a chance, he moved to Macau and helped with an international school, School of Nations in Macau. And then, soon after that, he was asked to come to the US and give a series of lectures to the media, press, in Chinese, English, give talks at the universities and different societies about Chinese culture and Western culture, similarities, and international culture in general. By then, before even he set foot in China, he mastered the Chinese language, actually 3 dialects. And so when he came, he was very well received by all the media in the US and Canada. And he was traveling from one place to another, from one city to another, from one state or province to another. And series of lectures and talks and presentations were organized, where everywhere he went, people who had to listen, and talking about Chinese who came from China, were so impressed by his depth and knowledge of the Chinese. And ever since then, he has become an international figure in the world. Hundreds of articles, hundreds of television and newspaper articles, television interviews, and radio interviews in both Chinese and English have been given all over the world, in many different countries about that. There are so many in both, actually, Chinese, English, and Persian. So he's a very well accomplished calligrapher. As a matter of fact, this was a self-taught enterprise. About 8, 9, 10 years ago, the Chinese Ministry of Culture, evaluated his quality of calligraphy, and they determined that his quality of calligraphy, Chinese calligraphy, meets the top 5% of all the world Chinese master calligraphers. And he's the only non-Chinese who has achieved that. And actually, very lately, a few months ago, he was appointed as the executive president of Chinese International Master Calligraphers Association. And again, the only non-Chinese who has achieved that. Before the end of the millennium, he made his business to visit over 500 cities in all provinces of China. And he's the only foreigner who has achieved that. And he has been appointed as senior economic advisor to many of these cities and many of these provinces. And he actively serves as this role that was given to him. And so virtually all throughout China, and then later on Middle East and North Africa, he has made such a fame. He has been considered as, because he is a pioneer in many of these fields, as the only non-Chinese who have achieved that. Throughout his professional career, after establishing Future Trends, he has reached to many countries, many officials, high-level officials, from the presidents, vice presidents, kings, monarchs, prime ministers, ministers, and all the way down. He has developed personal relationships where I hardly can say, again, trying to be unbiased, that not very many people have been able to do that. And this is an individual without any legal authority, without any government positions, just as an enterprise. Some other things that he has been able to do, for example, in China, through close relationships to the central government of China, as an advisory role, he has written many proposals to change the image of China in the international arena. For example, the initiative that he proposed to the central government to change the outlook of China from a class struggle to harmonious society. That is one initiative. And to change the image of China from China threat to China peace. And few other similar proposals have all been adopted by the public Politburo, and so on. And many of these have been so well received that they actually have implemented. For example, in 2013, his China Peace Initiative was not only received and signed by the central government, but they decided to act similar to what France did to give the Statue of Liberty as a present to the US. His China Peace Initiative, the government took upon themselves to present a statue of peace. And they thought and determined that the most volatile place in the world today is the Middle East. And they determined that we have most of the Arab countries as our allies, China has. And so let's go and present this statue of peace to Israel. So they decided to do that, build the statue of peace, made all the connections and all that, and then when the delegation, the government delegation was ready to go to Israel and present that, they asked him, the only non-governmental person, to go along with this delegation, because it was his initiative, to Israel, and they presented that to Shimon Peres and the mayor of Haifa, Israel. And that statue of peace currently resides in the sports stadium of Haifa, Israel. There's so many things to tell about my brother, but in the interest of having this ITF conference moving, I will stop at that. And thank you very much.
Introduction to you. And thank you, Brother Iraj. Again, back to our very valuable and precious audience. I would like to take a few minutes to explain to you what is the phenomenon we call future trends. First of all, I use the terminology phenomenon because future trends is something that will become a most positive force in many societies, countries, cultures, civilizations, finance, economic, and industry. First of all, future trends is a global community. It is a global institution. It is both a business practice as well as a financial flow, but above all, it is a network that includes several millions of people in over 150 countries, where it is not a loosely knit community. It is a network divided systematically or categorized systematically from the government category to the finance category to the energy category, medical categories, and also anything to do with new industries, agriculture, new materials. It has a core members of literally several 100,000 people, out of which at least 10,000 of them bear the name card of Future Trends. And among them are like the brother of the King of Bahrain and others. But they take pride of being a member or members of Future Trends, just like you. In China, many of our offices are actually the offices of the mayors of the cities, where they have a dual function. The office of the mayor and the government, in it is the office of Future Trends. Why? Because we have attempted to be an organization that is dynamic and an organization that has closed the gap between government and non-government NGO, for-profit and non-profit, we knew air pollution was going to be the #1 hit of China. We made a program that had a US corporation just like your North Carolina, but it was a Glendale, California corporation called DACIBI, which hired Future Trends, paid Future Trends retainers, paid commissions, applied for a loan in one batch. We took that application to the Minister of Environment of China, Mr. Xie. He endorsed it. We took it to my friend, Minister of Finance, Mr. Xiang Huaichan, whom later I invited, and he was in my bridge competition. 160 minister and above leaders of China were in the State Guest House in the tradition of them shopping, playing bridge card, and I got approvals from them. So that program went to US. At that time, Secretary Daley and Madame Wu, State Councilor, signed the first phase. The second phase in 1999 was signed in Washington, D.C. by Al Gore and Premier of China, Zhu Rongji, and it became a historic, iconic deal. This is the caliber of things Future Trends has accomplished. More significant than that was the first time in world history, since we are Future Trends. We designed it, we planned it, we educated the two systems. We brought the first ever sovereign wealth fund from GCC to invest into China. That was the Kuwait Investment Authority, added by Qatar Investment Authority, people such as Mr. Badar, Osama Al-Ayyub, and also Farouk Bastaki's teams, those who know this system, and in Qatar, Dr. Hussein Abdullah, they invested in ICBC, Industrial Commercial Bank of China, which I recommended, the 5th ranking bank at that time in the world. Years before that in North Carolina, I had a friend, Mr. Sam Sloan. He was the senior vice president of Bank of America. That was the #1 bank in the world. With our involvement as Future Trend, Industrial Commercial Bank. After that, through our involvement of bringing the sovereign wealth funds, which remained and did not cash out after the lock-up period, the valuation of the bank went up. Now the bank and 4 other banks have moved into Dubai, and now we took the Minister of Finance of Beijing with the Ministry of Finance of Abu Dhabi to create clearing houses. We are positioning that Chinese financial system of Beijing, which has $7 trillion with 700 financial institutions, to partner with financial institutions globally. We would love Charlotte, Raleigh, North Carolina, and the region to be a major hub of financial systematic cooperation, first with China, then through China to the New Silk Road, to Bahrain, to Abu Dhabi, and beyond. So this is a proposition that maybe a few people in your team can take on and take it back to the governor, to the office of the financial commissioner, and talk to the regulatory bodies of the banks and financial institutions, private-wise or otherwise, and systematically plan for it, because we have a program for it. We have done single cases, and we have a program for it. More back to explaining what is Future Trends. Aside from having done multiple of single deals in banking, oil and gas, environment, agriculture, now we have embarked on the biggest program portfolio of what I call the spaceship on health. We have all the hospitals, the technology to take them on cloud, pre-rendered, coming down to all the multi-terminals, so that the hospitals, the doctors, and the patients are relieved to meet online. And not only in limited groups of hospitals, where we have covered now 1,500 hospitals. In 3 years, we will have covered 30,000 hospitals with 10 million doctors with 1 billion patients. So we will be creating a major, what I call the Noah's Ark market access, because this year we have covered 30 new ministers of finance all over the world, from India to Tunisia to Saudi, and we are growing the footprint by next year to 100 countries, where we already have the network. We don't need to create the network. We only, what I call, materialize and crystallize the network into results and into teams on the ground. So at this time, we are hiring large number of people and deploying them to countries where we already have the high-end resources. Only in this one industry, as an example, but we are doing it with several industries. Okay, again, as I am explaining, Future Trends is a platform, is a network, is a system in your hands, especially with US companies. US was the frontier, pioneering, outgoing spirit. Somehow, the past decades, it has become more introvert and has become more stagnant. Our message will invite them to have more active participation and more leading role as the lead management, technology, and capital in the growing markets of the world. If they don't have the access, we create access. If they don't have the methodology, we train and transfer to them the methodology. We learn from them, we are giving back to them. We like to focus on certain regions. We like the North Carolina, Charlotte area. We like the region because I have history, because there are great people there, because there were visionary people there who came early on out into China. We would like to help one by one enterprise, sit with them, with the key decision makers, with the ears and the eyes and the brains, show them practical roadmaps of how they can enter, establish, grow, manage risk, and multiply themselves in several markets at the same time. Not a linear, but parallel action. We show them what we have in mind is not theoretical. What we have in mind will actually, within a reasonable 3 to 5 years, make them multiply themselves. We are the magnifier effect for them. We bring in local teams, local distribution system, and local approvals and local orders of a market share in many industries. And by doing that in several markets, when the growth is known, we do financial play. We bring PE investments and we take them public. We are doing that with our own Bright Oceans Corporation. We are doing that with Heineken. We have done it previously with some oil companies. We are able to do it in different sectors and industries. Whatever we know of China's open door, I use the analogy of a small toothpaste, small opening. Whereas the next decade is the mega opening of the magic wand. The entire pot will be opened. That means there will be a multiplication of the growth of wealth in China, with China, through China, for US companies. So the US companies, our message is actually very valuable, weighty, and very serious. It needs to be taken by the chambers of commerce, by the government, redevelopment authorities, by the mayors, by the enterprises, by the banks, to the US corporate community, meet with every corporation's 3 to 5 decision makers, show them a vision of the growth path, and show them that it will happen as it did from 30s to 70s or 80s in US. A multiplier of that is happening in China, in Central Asia, in Africa, and elsewhere. The US should not be left behind or bereft or deprived of what I call the vertical economy is fallen. A horizontal economy is coming up, and the rise of the West is being replaced or added, not replaced, by the rise of the rest. So let the West participate in the rest. This is my simple message. I gave it to the basically the TV interview of China where even Mr. Kissinger's general manager or president of his corporation much ahead of time in thinking. We create trends and we like the US corporation to participate. They will benefit, but they also will be our bankers. We will benefit. We commit with Madame Metashar and Kingdom International that a major income generation that is generated from these by us or by you and by us together will go directly to the humanitarian cause right away, not later, not a small portion. It must be a large portion and first. So any income generation we do for the sake of economy, growth, profit will not be the old world order of cutthroat, competition, bypassing each other, doing what we call morally acceptable, but it is the reverse. We would like to create a model of economic wealth generation and distribution all at the same time. We don't want to have idealism alone. We need your help to do real business, whether it is trade, investment, commerce, marketing, growth of your companies. We show that we produce results because we are not alone. Future Trends has its portfolio, powerful companies, some Fortune 500 members companies in China or in GCC in which we are actually shareholders. We are not just loose associate partners. So when we talk about Future Trends, again, I'll explain. I think of Future Trends and I created this as an umbrella which itself will never think tank, influencer, and also resource base. However, with partners like you, we create wealth, we keep wealth in these operating companies, which are your companies, we have our shares in them, and together we grow. So I am explaining about our model. Now, I am far, and the time is short, and I cannot, as a communicator, communicate with you all the nitty-gritties when a business becomes an idea, a consultation, a strategy formulation, brainstorming, a coaching session of 2 days, then become a line of action, then becomes a proposal, then becomes a memo, then becomes a contract, then we'll find the other side partners and basically wealth or value creation, then it becomes implementation. Rest assured, Future Trends teams are experienced in execution, in implementation, and not in theory. And the 100 cases we have done, and the companies in which we are involved, they themselves are the professional companies, such as the Bright Oceans Corporation, whose members are with you also. Bright Oceans has 3,000 staff, is a public listed company, and we are growing this company ourselves. And again, in GCC, we have, for example, Tanal Holding in Saudi, which is the Prince Abdulaziz. His great-grandfather was the founder of the Saudi Arabian Kingdom, the first King Abdulaziz, whose son King Saud is the second king of Saudi, and now the grandson of that son is our partner, the chairman of Tanal Holding. Your UAE office is our office, and of course, our Saudi, all our resources are yours. In Saudi alone, I personally know about 70 or 80 royal family princes, and with many of them we have independent relations. But remember, for example, this gentleman's first uncle is the current king. They are the owners of the kingdom, and their full global enterprise is in our hands. You can join them for mining, construction, contracting, oil and gas, health, and many other projects. We have the same thing not just in one country. We have this in over 100 countries. For example, we block the whole cinema and people are out and we watch privately the whole cinema, and then we have brought their Kuwait Investment Authority to invest in China, Kuwait Petroleum to invest in China and also in other places. So we have influence in the system of these countries. In Oman, I brought Syed Fahad, the Prime Minister. I brought on the Air Force One when they had trouble with their landing permit and I issued it overnight. I brought them to China with 130 minister-level delegations, created 2 conferences of each Fortune 500 Chinese companies chairman, and increased the trade volume of the 2 countries between China and Oman from 2000 to 2008, from $600 million to $11 billion, 18 times growth. And the government of Oman says 70% of the job is done by future trends. And this goes on and on and on in so many countries. Please, done favors to others who owe us favors back, who, like US corporations, they would like your technology, products, services to be used there. You have a major room in those markets. We have all the access points. Let's combine for our win-win-win situation. Thank you for your attention. Kindly, because this message I feel is very worthy, take it to many of your other colleagues who are not there. Best wishes to you.
I want to thank Dr. Forzam for unpacking the global reach of Future Trends International and the Future Trends International Network. And you can probably sense the man's energy through the video. Could you sense his energy? But I had the chance to meet him in October when we launched the International Trade Forum in New Haven, Hartford, Connecticut. And the man's warmth, candor, and also his transparency matches his energy. And I don't know if you could sense that through the video, but he's a man who promotes a concept of mankind is one. And he represents that on a daily basis, and he will greet you and say, best day, because it's always the best day for Dr. Forzam. Let's give him a round of applause. Recognition, just want them to stand. We have Ella Scarborough, the chair of the Mecklenburg City Commission. I understand she is in the room. Ms. Scarborough, please stand. Thank you for honoring us with your presence. It's a pleasure to have you here. Also, you can see that we are ahead on our agenda. We like that. Are you in agreement with being ahead of an agenda? Yes. Fantastic. So we're going to keep things rolling. I do have an introduction that I'm going to make, but we do need to facilitate getting some chairs for our panel discussion. So you're going to see a little bit of movement on the front. We are going to ask Dr. Andrea Jeffries to prepare to come to the stage, Thomas Mathis and Araj Kalamabadi. So make preparation to make your way to the stage. And now, Dr. Forzam, which we affectionately call him Dr. Forzam, he is known as the hand of China. And if he's the hand of China, this next gentleman that I'm going to introduce, he is the hand of the hand. So consider him the right hand of the hand of China. And he's going to lead us through our panel discussion. And please, if you can stay, we'd love for you to stay for this next presentation. So I'm going to ask Mohammed Jarari to prepare to come to the stage as well as part of our panel discussion. And then we'll need to move some chairs, and I'll ask for assistance to do that. Maybe for Mr. Carmichael to make his way to the front and help me out. Mohammed Jarari, He's the Director of Business Development for Future Trends International Group Organizations, a Humanitarian Council. Mohammed is a Tunisian-born native and current resident there. He has extensive experience in capital and investment advisory for hedge funds, private equity platforms, and energy and oil vehicles globally. He performs scouting, rating, and selection in the Middle East, China, and globally. Mohammed has been deployed to support the healthcare sectors by integrating U.S. and Western-style medical efficiencies and cross-pollination in the healthcare sector in Africa. He plays a major role as strategic advisor for leading groups in oil and gas, mining, information technology, construction, and green energy projects in the Middle East. Groups such as the China Petroleum Alliance, the International Arab Bank of Tunisia, and we are honored to have him here today. And with that, we'd like to bring our panelist guest and Mohammed Jairi to the stage. Please give them a round of applause, please.
Good afternoon. I remember being in school, and this is the point in time in class where you just want to stretch. Today, I would like to, while they're getting some things set, give you a little background about the International Trade Forum and about myself. I am an OBGYN physician in Erie, Pennsylvania. Aside from my medical practice, I do some international business consulting as a business development consultant for Future Trends. My connection to the International Trade Forum began about 30 years ago when Natasha Dillon, who is the founder of KIEDC, Kingdom International Economic Development Corporation, and the International Trade Forum, along with her husband Wesley, who is the president of business development for Future Trends. I met Natasha 30 years ago when I was 18 years old, so I'm telling my age. I was just a young girl, and she gave me my first scholarship to med school. I went to Yale Med, and that first year, after I participated in her event, she gave me that money to go to school, and that helped me so much. So for the last 30 years that her organization has been in existence, I've made it my business and my personal work in life to assist her in all her endeavors to continue to help young people, families in need. And sometimes people just talk, and Natasha, she loves to talk. But you can rest assured, as I stand here in front of you today, that she's more than a talker. She's a doer. I was her first winner in 1991. There are so many young girls who... So I tell you all that to say that the relationship that she has formed with Dr. Farzan, who we met when our Kingdom International Economic Development Corporation group went to Dubai, and he personally had reviewed all the projects on the portal. And when he met Natasha, one of the things that he remarked to her was, I have reviewed over thousands of projects on that portal, and I have to tell you that your project was the only one that cared about other people. And since that is the case, I want to connect with you. And from that, 3 or 4 years ago, when we first went to Dubai, it has really blossomed into some very real things. Now, since I was 18 years old, she's been educating young women, not just in college and med school and professional life, but also in business. She encourages us to become entrepreneurs. And so that's what I've done in my life. So not only do I do OBGYN, practice full time, but I also own part of a wiper blade company. I also do the business development consulting. And I'm also involved in many different other entrepreneurial endeavors. And that's all because, as Dr. Farzan said, there's a lot of cooperation, and there's a great opportunity in the model that they're building to show that you can accomplish your goal and do philanthropic things and build wealth and bolster economies other than a cutthroat style talk. That we walk the walk. I am her receipt. I show the things that she's done and that Wesley continues to do and help with. And we're so happy that we met our brother Iraj and Muhammad and the whole Future Trends family. And all over the country, they're building and building and building. And it's a wonderful opportunity to take your company and stamp copy them throughout what we call the Golden Triangle, which is the US, China, and the GCC, and also the MENA region, Middle East, North Africa. So if you have a passion for your company, if you have a vision for growth, if you can take the limits off of your mind, then you can take a chance and do something that is not by chance, but that is a proven entity, that is a proven commodity. As Natasha has me as her receipt, Mohammed, Miraj, Dr. Farzan have tremendous receipts. Look at the resume. See what it shows. Not what they talk, but see what it shows. See the receipts. See the way the world has changed and the things that have been accomplished. Talk to Mrs. Marva Morris, who is the CEO of Zen Edge Energy Drink, who drove 12 hours with me. 12 hours, we drove all night. We slept in a gas station when we got really tired. She drove all night to solve her problems of her company and to vision growth for her company, to stand with Muhammad today, to sign a multi-million-dollar contract that's not going to just change her life, but the life of her family, the life of people in Erie, Pennsylvania, and the life of people in New Hampshire where the water plant is, and in Baltimore where it's founded, and in New Jersey where the factory and the co-packing happens, where things are going to change because she has a vision and she's joining in cooperation. And she's not the only one. These things that are happening in our world, we can change. But we have to have the vision to change it and the mindset to do so. And so with that, I welcome our panelists up. I'm going to participate as your moderator. And you can ask all kinds of questions about business development and what it is to do business in China. And if Iraj and Oh, before we start, can we just give a round of applause to Mrs. Kelly, Turner Cole, and her North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina team? Can they all stand? Where are you? Please stand. We recognize for the tremendous work you've done here today. We appreciate you. And we just want to express our gratitude for your hospitality. I know after 12 hours of driving, that food was so good.
Say so.
So come, gentlemen, come. Wesley Dillon, can I hire you to come? Can I recruit you, rather? Did you speak already, Mohammed? Okay. He's so humble. But this man is a powerhouse. And when I say powerhouse, I mean powerhouse. He is Dr. Farzam's right-hand person, handpicked to do the colossal job that he does around the world. And I will let him tell you a little bit about himself.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. First of all, I'm so happy to be in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I feel so blessed and happy. All of you. Okay, great. I have been in China since now almost 10 years. And I have, first, what has triggered the interest and for me to go to China was that in early 2000 and 2005, 2008, everybody was talking about that country that was the manufacturer or the supermarket of the world, or the country where you can find everything and cheaper than all, is in most of the other countries, cheaper more than most of the other countries. And as I came into China in early 2008, I have had the pleasure to meet with Dr. Farzam right here just now, and Madam Andrea introduced actually is literally, I would say 10 to 20% of what Dr. Farzam has accomplished. First in terms of business and actual deal making, but also in terms of actual support and selfless support to China, to the central government, to the Chinese people, and people all around the world. Okay, thank you.
One of the things that we'd like to let you know is the list of projects that are available, and if you would just expand on that, the categories.
When it comes to list of projects, let's categorize first what Future Trends has been doing and our main areas of expertise, and also other industries that would come along with our main industries of expertise. We are mainly active in oil and gas and energy and related funds and investments. I'm sure many of you have noticed that when we were talking about some of the iconic deals that were initiated and closed by Future Trends, many of them were either with KPC, Kuwait Petroleum Company, coming into China and investing, or CNPC coming to Middle East and securing oil blocks, or Sinopec. And we have also discussed the KIA and Qatar, Kuwait and Qatar Investment Authority both, and together along with Al-Mal Investment and Goldman Sachs coming into China and investing the ICBC Bank. So when it comes to energy, let's say resources now, oil and gas, we already know that most of the oil reserves worldwide reside in the Middle Eastern region. So I would say probably 65 to 70% of all oil reserves. I mean, I talk about conventional oil reserves. All conventional oil reserves reside in the Middle East. And we have found in this a niche because we were, Future Trends was in China since now 36 years operating in China. And China is and was also the largest energy consumer. And lately, a few years back, became the largest oil consumer. And that was an enormous trend, actually, helping Chinese, both exploration and production companies, to go abroad and to secure oil blocks and either, of course, exploration, development, or from time to time, production stage oil blocks, where companies would come and produce and, of course, take resources back into China and process it. This trend has been in place for literally now, already in place for 15 to 20 years. And now this trend will continue to be in place for literally 2 decades, 2 to 3 decades more. So when it comes to projects, we are very active in oil and gas and also in mining, where we have been active in China in mining and also in Africa and Central in South America. Not sure how many of you have already visited China. We have different, first Dr. Farzam is the chairman of the International Mining Alliance, operating companies or actual silent investment partners that come together with the technical partners to operate mines. And they have been, and they are still active in both China, Africa, and also South America in different metals, mines, for when it comes to metals, zinc, ore, gold, diamond mines, coal mines, and all this. So first cluster is oil and gas, second cluster is mining, and also finance. And one of the messages I would like to, we would like to transmit and give today to the attendees is the tremendous opportunities that are in China in the banking sector, for small to mid-size banks, insurance companies that are already based in the US and growing successfully, and that would like to multiply their growth through entry strategy formulation in China and implementation. This trend is actually, I'm not sure, everybody knows of the negative list. In each country, foreign companies, when they come into and they would like to invest, there is always that negative list that restricts foreign players to invest in a specific industry or a specific niche market. And one of the main industries and industry line that was partially restricted and now is open for foreign investments is the banking. Setting up for banks that are, for foreign banks that would like to enter in China, they can now enter through either through a Chinese partner and have the Chinese wholly foreign-owned enterprise. And for banks and insurance, we have noticed that the last 3 to 5 years, this is the CBRC numbers, that the last 5 years, Chinese banks are actually growing. They have a growth rate of averaging 20 to 25%, which is a huge number. And for foreign banks, it is the same case. Foreign banks now are coming into China, and they are averaging a growth rate between 18, and some of them have already reached the 26 and 28% growth rate. And with that growth rate, I think everybody knows that within 3 years, 4 years, they can double themselves. And that kind of opportunities, we cannot find it anywhere else now in the world. So one of the messages is that banking, insurance, from US into China is a major long-term trend and a great opportunity. And of course, we have China central government, 33 provinces. We have been to, aside from Dr. Farzam, Future Trends teams and myself have visited the 33 provinces. Most of their governors, vice governors, offices of foreign affairs, we know their teams very well, and they are actually, as Brother Iraj said it so well, they are part of our teams and supporters of Future Trends. And we cover very well the banking sector. When we go to a province, we have at least 10, 12, sometimes more banks, leaders that come to us and that consult and brainstorm with us regarding such opportunities. When it comes to foreign players coming into China, we have platforms and partners. So we have already the platform, and we have already the partners and the players that would go in and take the delegations and arrange with them and close the actual deals. So these are basically the main industry expertise of Future Trend: oil, gas, mining, and finance. Finance, of course, we are very active when it comes to both. We are not an investment house yet, but we have been and are still very active when it comes to various finance services like capital raising for funds, funds of funds, hedge funds, major strategic projects. We have done this. We worked already with US corporation, US funds, with Chinese corporation, Chinese funds, helping them raise capital from GCC, which is actually another subject, and later on probably we'll present it. As GCC is one of the main, literally I think is the most active capital market worldwide so far, with averaging incomes in 2014. They've had, I'm talking about the 6 GCC countries, they've had about $650 billion incomes. These are Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Bahrain, and Saudi. And what is special about these 6 countries, first, $650 billion a year, that was when the oil barrel averaged $110, $112. Still, now, half of it is already 300 and Bahrain. 4 of those countries, their size together is the size of South Korea. So, and 4 countries, each one of them has average population 500,000 to 1 million. So their population altogether is about 3 to 5 million people, and having that kind of income. Finance, as we said, and also we are very active in other industries. Since Future Trends, basically those are the areas of expertise, but Future Trends has literally millions, I was going to say hundreds of thousands, but literally millions of people, and we have been creating and helping for what we call the creation of a cloud-based network, where we have different people, supporters, that are either actual leaders, former leaders, that are somehow connected to Future Trends, either Future Trends core teams or Future Trends supporters or Future Trends network of contacts, advisors, and all those people are spread around the world and are both in China, in Asia as a whole, Middle East, Africa, and also America and Europe. So we have literally, I would say, we have worldwide coverage and connections in literally every country. With that, we have been active, and we are still active in these 3 main clusters of expertise, but we are also active in various other industries like healthcare, information technology. When I say information technology, we cover both telecommunication through our partners, Bright Oceans Corporation, telecommunication information technology, which later on we will also technologies, finance, banking, information technologies, smart cities, and all set of products and services, and mainly leading technologies, state-of-the-art technologies, which we have and are offering through either Bright Oceans Corporation, our partners, or Heineken, or other partners and players. So I covered now healthcare, IT, and also we have done things with when it comes to green energy, solar, wind. I remember I was involved in 2011 in this is a very interesting story. One of our clients, which was Wind Vision at that time, it is actually a Switzerland company, and they are active in wind vision. So they develop, invest, and own and operate wind farms. And they came to us. At that time, they have already built themselves, and they had a very interesting track record. Is the company and the partners that have first ever worldwide used the largest turbines in the world, the Enercon 8.5 megawatt. These are very large turbines, and Enercon at that time, they got the technology, they manufactured them, and they were looking for a strong player to use such large turbine. These are 200 meters. 200 meters turbines, 8.5 megawatts upgradable to 9.5. They came to us in order to, they wanted to raise capital actually for their Morocco and Italy projects. And we went, of course I did with them several delegations into Middle East. We've been to Saudi, and actually at that time it was my first green energy project, and while promoting them, we've been to Dr. Abdullah KIA, Qatar Investment Authority, the guy we brought first into China to invest in the ICBC bank deal. And after second meeting, he said, literally, Mohammed, Master Yuan, he was actually the president of Envision. We had a very interesting portfolio of green energy projects among wind and among solar. And we went to raise a $300 million batch of different projects. He said, you add to it the ones that you are developing now, and you create with us a fund pool to direct, first to source, and then rate the projects, and then select the projects for which we will direct the money into them from that pool of capital, green energy pool of capital. So we have, the message behind this is that even industries where we did not touch, we can come into, and also we have the right network to deliver for, and of course with the help of the partners and clients with us during the delegation, we will be obviously most and best placed to deliver for such projects, because what we have is our most valuable resource is actually the real supporters and connection that are at a very, very high level, top level in each country. And once you have that, of course, you can have access to all, whether state-owned or private, leading groups and companies. That is actually what we have, the expertise and the high-level network and contacts. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought he didn't like the mic. No, I've had the privilege and the honor of traveling with Mohammed. I went to Bahrain last year to pitch a hospital project with a major hospital from the US. So the healthcare industry is booming over there. They want technology, they want medical expertise, medical devices. So if anyone in the room is in that vein, I would say, see Mohammed. If I could ask Irmash to discuss infrastructure projects. You're a civil engineer? Yes, and he, through Future Trends and his US-based company, worked on Boston. Can you tell a little bit about that? And then, what? No? Any information you can give us on the smart cities or opportunities for building between you and Wesley, the new projects available?
Well, without going into specifics, I'm sure, let's talk in general terms. I'm sure a lot of us has had doubts about China. Because to us, China has been a sleeping giant, a sleeping dragon, right? And being a communist country and knowing, that thrive. So China still remains a mystical place for us. Right? How many can attest to that? No one? So you're all converted. So I don't need to preach. But in general, there are still some doubts, because we live in the West, all about capitalism. Our sister country, China, is all about capitalism these days. Only the name is communist. But anywhere you go, set foot in large cities, some not so large cities, rural areas, remote places, like the places we went. We took a delegation about a year and a half ago to China, visited the Jinan, Shandong province with some business development, and then we went to this remote rural area, 4 hours of riding bus in this dangerous, winding road through hills and valleys, to a very desolate place where it is designated as one of the top 5 places by World Health Organization to be center for long life and longevity. And Dr. Andrea Jeffers was one of them with her mom and a few other ones that we all came. And we were all mesmerized by the beauty, by the scenery, by the virgin territory, by untouched environment, and all the health benefits that there are so many projects there, so many infrastructure projects there, international airport, for example, freeway system. They don't have any of that. It's a remote area with all the other miscellaneous projects, for example, hospitals, wellness centers, biomedical engineering centers for research and development, and agricultural, housing, tourism, hotels, industry, so many things that are needed there. It's just one example of a rural area, and you don't see any sign of communism in this rural area. Now, all the major cities in China are connected through high-speed rail. China, an emerging, but not so emerging economy. Most of their major cities are connected through high-speed rail. How many high-speed rail projects, or not projects, how many high-speed rail lines do we have operating in the US right now? Can anyone guess? 0. 0, not even one. Not even one. So do you call that capitalism in China, or do you call that communism? Now look at the GNP, or GDPs of China. Ever since early 1960s, 61, 62, all throughout present time, would shoot up in the sky to 6 to 7%, and at the high of 7.8, 7.9%, about 6 to 7%. Now, if you look at that curve of China's GDP, it hit the lowest this past year, 2016, and it was a meager 6.8%. Whereas India economy, GDP, has been in the 5 to 6 to 4.5%. And our GDP in the US has been about 2 to 3%. So at the worst times, China GDP was 6.7, 6.8, 6.6%. And now, the very last quarter in 2017, not yet quarter, but so far in 2017, it has hit back up to 6.8, 6.9%, almost back to 7% and higher. It will never go down. It has, yes, it's ups and downs, but it will never go down. So our best bet is investment, whether our resources, whether our operations, no matter whatever business that we have in. You know, Muhammad talked about the negative list. The negative list keeps going down and down and down, so that, you know, some 30 years ago, China realized that pure communism does not work anymore. So they decided to try a couple of areas as a free economic zone. Tianjin was one, just south of, a couple hours south of Beijing. And then Shenzhen was another one, very close to Hong Kong, Southeast China. So they tried these two free economic zones and to see, kept expanding it ever since. And very soon, the entire nation of China, 1.5 billion people, and China by itself, each province could be considered as a huge country because of the population, because of the vastness, because of the diversity of enterprises that are there, and the service that they provide throughout the rest of the world. And very soon, the entire China will be, the entire country of China will be free economic zone to everyone. And that negative list keeps going down until it reaches practically zero. That means that there is no business that foreigners cannot get their hands on, that the government controls and does not allow or restricts foreigners to be part of. So the doors are wide open. We need some catching up to do here in the US and the West, Europe, and other countries. So China is the country of the future, and the future is not. That sleeping giant is no longer sleeping, but it has gathered momentum, energy, and size. Whereas people say, if China sneezes today, the whole world will catch cold. The whole world will catch a cold. So there are golden opportunities in front of us, and we can consider China as extension of US, and US as extension of China. The time for competing with each other and crushing your competitors to stand up is no longer there. It's cooperation is the boat. As soon as we can into China, otherwise we will miss the boat. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. I guess we have been talking about China, different industries, and different niche, and actually we have been trying to cover as much as possible. Industries, China, different other countries, but let's try to, for some time, focus on China. And Brother Mr. Raj talked about China's capitalism, that is not anymore a communist country, but a capitalist country. The message about how capitalist China is, because he's filming, I need to stand. No problem, it's okay. I got excited. That's why. Okay. So, since 2007, I have been reading books about China's economy, how capitalist is China, and I have been reading about many authors calling China the new capitalist country with Chinese criteria, communist country with capitalism criteria. Every single writer wants to find that studies China well, that travels into China, that meet different leaders in China, try to name what is the phenomena that is happening now in China. And everybody is trying to name China's economic system or the communist country with capitalism criteria. But actually, what is communism? What is capitalism? Did we name capitalism and then we did capitalism? Or we found capitalism, then we found the name? It's a very basic question. Do we, have the baby then name it? Or name the baby then make it? Of course, we have the baby then name it. And so, capitalism, after players and countries have been through it for decades, probably hundreds of years, then they named it. Communism is the same thing. Now we are living a new phenomena in China. We are not anymore talking about simple capitalism. US is a capitalist country. When you look at China, and I've read a lot about Deng Xiaoping after Mao Zedong, the China's premier. When he announced to Chinese that becoming rich is the most glorious thing for Chinese, and everyone was running, doing business. China now transformed itself into a huge machine. Everybody who said China is the dragon, and Mr. Iraj said, if China sneezes, the whole world will catch cold. That is a true reality. I have been in China for 10 years now, and that is a true reality. So that's first. China is, I would call it the most capitalist country in the world, but in few years, probably decades, there will be a name for the economic system that we're living now in China. But that's first. But let's discuss how interesting is China, and what is this now, and when it started. China, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, people were in the street and looking for food. They were hungry. Hungry? Am I right? Hungry. 35 years ago. Now, after 35 years, the country has turned itself into, first, the second largest economy in the world. Now, we have been seeing, US as largest economy, and leading in technologies, in education, in lots of things. We have seen Japan as second. We have seen many, but China was, during 30 years, have been growing at, I would say, a rate between 8 to 12 to 11.5 and 12% GDP, which was something that nobody has seen in any other country. Usually a country that reaches such a growth rate, they are either very small with large oil reserves and are producing large quantities of oil, or that country that does not exist, such a country. And China has been doing this, the impossible. 35 years transforming itself into the second largest economy in the world, closing the gap soon with the US within 2 to 3 years. Do you know that China's GDP now is $16.8 trillion? US GDP now is $19 trillion. US GDP is growing by 1 to 2%. At the best time, at its best days, in 2009, 2010, when I was in China, China did 10.5, while the crisis in the US, the subprime crisis, China did double-digit growth few years. And so what we're seeing now, the phenomena is that, first, this is why we say power is shifting. So from west to east. But then the outcomes of that, we have now large, very large corporations, state-owned or private, that are Chinese, that grew enough in China because the market is large. We are talking about the most populated country in the world. We are talking about 1.5 billion people. And so we are talking about these large private or state-owned corporations that grew, established themselves into China, and now are going international and are largest or second largest worldwide. What we want to do, and the message we want to transfer to Americans, and to our teams and our brothers and sisters and guests now here present is that American corporations should themselves also have piece of that cake. Go international now, and through going international, go into China, establish yourself, and then go to other countries. Because the largest market so far is China. The largest market worldwide is China. We are not talking about 200-300 million people. We're talking about 1.5 billion people. 1,450,000,000 people in one single country. And so this is why what we say, and then go international, compete with them. And this is what actually the whole movement what is about. Of course, is business and helping US integration into the power shifting process. Because now our US is, United States of America, the largest economy in the world. Within 2 years, it is either integrated in the whole worldwide process or out of it. And there will be the new largest economy in the world with $19.5 trillion. And the whole thing, the whole movement and what we want to do is whether US will be part of that or will be out of that. And for US corporations to be able to compete with such large corporations like the Chinese, large state-owned corporations and private ones, we should move now and go into China and secure and enjoy the growth that they are having. Banks in China are having, foreign banks are enjoying now, at this time, 20 to 25% growth rate. Can any one of you tell me if this happened during the last decade in one of the United States states? Did this happen? Is any one of you in finance? I know that few players are in finance and banking, right? Yeah, but brother, what is the average growth rate for PE funds in the US? Okay, let's discuss banks in general. Do you have a mic?
Banks in general.
You got a mic?
No, I don't need a mic. No.
Okay, I will go.
You probably look at less than on a growth rate. U.S. banks, yes.
Sorry?
I said annually you're looking at less than 2% growth rate from banks. I mean, I think the overall economy is strong.
We are talking about commercial banks, growth rate of 2%. Commercial banks, growth rate at 2%. Let's say rating institutions, they describe it and they say it is between 1 to 4%, depending on the bank size, depending on the bank coverage, how many states, how many countries they are present, and all these things. But it is still even trying to be very optimistic and saying it is a 4% or 5%, it's still very low. When you can have 4 to 5 times this growth in China. The CBRC states in its last year's report that foreign banks coming into China, and I'm not talking about Shanghai and Beijing, which are most known cities, Shenzhen, Shanghai, Beijing, everybody knows. No, I'm talking about we go deep into China. CBRC states that foreign banks are making between 20 and 25% growth rate. CBRC is the China Banking Regulatory Commission, which has all the states, all the numbers right. and not only banking. Let's talk about funds, private equity business. Is any one of you in private equity business? A few hands in there. Okay, 3-4 years, and the coming probably 3-4 years too. I mean, also for a long time it has been the case. For private equity business, US funds, private equity funds are usually looking at between, I would say, 14 to 16 to maximum 18% growth rate, which is considered as something great. In China, private equity funds are making 30 to 40% growth rate. In some industries, you can make 50%. There in China is the growth. And there is the whole industry picking up right now. The whole finance, business, private equity industry, the mergers and acquisitions industry is starting now, is picking now. In US, it has matured. And we have American corporations and American people, they have the experience, the know-how, and first the experience and the know-how, the education, and the support. They have already funds and funds of funds established in here. Why don't they go to China and establish the same structure? Establish, rather than healthcare PE fund in US, you do a healthcare PE fund in China and enjoy this large growth rate. I will explain it in more details for people that are not in the industry. Okay? So in every economic cycle, a company, a great guy starts with a great idea. He makes tires for cars. The first guy, the first company, monopoly. He enjoys last prices. Then many people will hear of that. And then they will open tire manufacturers. There will be tire manufacturers. They have to make tires. And there will be probably 30, 40 tires manufacturers, right? And then what is the natural process, like the jungle, or like the economic process? The natural process will be what? Will be the large ones will be buying the smaller ones, and you either buy or you either be bought. And the fastest you buy, I'm talking to you about the US story, the Rockefeller story, the oil story, oil boom, right? I'm talking about this. So you either be bought or you buy. And then, if you buy the most, you grow the fastest, right? And buying and selling these companies is the merger and acquisition process I'm talking about. So this has happened in the US 60, 70, 80 years ago started. Now we are talking at the phenomena that is starting now, started about 5, 10 years ago, and will continue not for a decade or two, but for the coming 100 years. Now, I am in oil and gas industry. I do a lot of things in oil and gas. In oil and gas technology, service, and machinery, there are literally 14 to 15,000 companies. Small, mid-size, and very few are front-runner large. 14 to 15,000. Only in China. Only in China. And this is why I'm saying all this, they call it the process of foreigners normally when they come to China, they come to buy products. They buy table and laptop, they buy bed, they buy products, and they try to sell them. Okay. Now players that are coming into China, we are telling them, do not buy these things. These are not the products you should buy in China. The products in China are companies. You should come in, buy 5, 7, 10 companies within one industry cluster, integrate them together, and then take them international and compete with the other international players. And you will be more than able and very well positioned to have a large market share. How did Baker Hughes became Baker Hughes? The huge Baker Hughes. How did they become like that? It started like a company that does 2D seismic in France. That was acquired by a company that has acquired another company, and now is a fully integrated service company. They do a whole set of service for upstream and also midstream. So So basically, that is the message we would like to say to all our friends and brothers and sisters. Here is a great phenomenon that is happening, and what we want to do is encourage American companies to come into China through us, while we have ready platforms within different governments. When Brother Iraj, Master Iraj earlier said Dr. Farzam has visited 500 cities before the year 2000 and has visited 2,000 to 2,500 factories before the year 2000. Imagine what we have been doing the last 16 years. I visited literally almost every single province, met their mayors, governors, vice governors, teams, and many of those I would say many of those governor offices or foreign affairs offices, their teams, they serve us very well. They help us, we help them. But they are above all future trend supporters. And those are the platforms we are talking about. We have large platforms that house different players. And we can be very instrumental and very effective when it comes to taking somebody, a successful business into China and placing him in a very systematic manner within the right platform with the right players to run it and grow it. For funds of funds is the right story. The whole business is how to get money in and how to deploy the money out. And how to deploy the money in, we have a large list of funds of funds for which we have already helped them raise capital from different players in the Middle East, and how to deploy the money out. We have already the players and the platforms into China, and we have tapped, for some industries, we have literally tapped the whole country. For oil and gas, we know the small, the mid-size, and the large players. We know the ones that are going public within a year or two. We know the ones that will go public within 5 years. And we have talked to some of these players, and we have convinced them already to sell part of their company, 15, 20, 30% shares, into one capable player that will help them grow. We're doing it, and we are still doing it, with GCC players. But we want to do also the same thing with American players, so then they are not left out. American corporation should come in and enjoy such a trend and such strategy and system. Okay? Thank you.
Great, thank you for that, Mohammed. Every time I'm here, I always learn a lot from you. And so I wanted to just talk a little bit about the International Trade Forum and how the pieces that are working together come together, and then talk about some of the services that we can offer different companies that are interested in pursuing that. And so the International Trade Forum is a platform that we can help get the word out. We can help get the word out about the massive growth that's going on in China, but in a systematic way. So we're offering for small or mid-cap companies the ability to join into that platform. And it's all the way from an early stage of, okay, well, how do I do business internationally? Okay, what do I need to do? You know, there's U.S. laws, trade laws that are in place, and certain industries require certain licenses. So we have folks in our team that will help guide you through the international trade policies and the license, the commercial licenses that you need to get to export products internationally. And so we're able to help prepare the company to talk about the markets that's best suited for the company and products. Probably in your folder you'll see a spreadsheet of some of the active projects looking to go into or looking to export their product. We can do a lot of coaching, a of information gathering about how does that product get to those particular countries. So the International Trade Forum is kind of here to help U.S. companies grow, not move overseas, but to grow, to expand their base, and to continue to grow and export more products to the international market. And from reestablishing and strengthening the base here in the United States and exporting more goods to these countries that really need it. So maybe in the breakout, I'll throw up a couple of the videos here of some of the massive projects that's going on. One came up as recent as this week in Kuwait. There's a big shopping mall that's ready to get built, massive. Looking for a strong engineering, procurement, and management company to come in and really take that project on. From what I understand, the finances is already available from the families that's there in the Middle East. So it's all the way from construction to small services and goods. It could be a granola bar, it could be different food items, or it could be other exportable technology and services that we do so well here in the United States, that we want to be able to stamp copy those companies around the world. So that's what the International Trade Forum and this whole invitation to you was about, to get that word out about how do we systematically ready companies to enter into that international space. And so with that, we've got some friends that came in from Regions Bank, I believe, that we asked to come and talk a little bit about some of the success stories of companies and what does a company really do that were successful. So if you don't mind, Thomas, I think he just joined us.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sit down too. It's paying attention. My name is Thomas Matthias. I'm here with Thomas Mateer, and I am the Global Trade Finance Officer for Regions Bank. Thomas, who's here in Charlotte, is a commercial banker with the bank. Just a little quick about Regions Bank. We are in the top 20 bank in the country. We're out of Birmingham, Alabama. We are what you call a super regional bank. And even though our focus is mainly on the Southeast, our span is really global. I work in the International Trade Group, and I help companies that are focused on exporting their product and also importing it. Okay, so I've been doing international business for over 20 plus years. I did a stint with the U.S. Export-Import Bank in Washington, D.C., and along with SBA, their programs are here to help companies like yourself that are expanding globally. I can tell you, as was mentioned earlier, the markets outside the U.S. is extremely large. I mean, just think about what we were talking about earlier, as far as, China being 1.5 billion people plus. India is also under a billion people as well. Then you have Africa, you have the Caribbean, and also other emerging markets. But think of that in context, though. China alone has over 350 to 500 million middle class. Okay, that is people who are purchasing products every day. Okay, their millennials are very well educated and also get involved with the global economy. That economy is growing phenomenally. I can tell you right now, I'm in Georgia. I sit in Atlanta, Georgia, and we have the fastest growing pecans and peanuts going to China. Basically because the middle class now, for the first time, is actually dining out. So they eat our pecans as a delicacy. So more and more restaurants are opening up in China to satisfy this growing consumer because they are more American than anything else. I spent a lot of time for Exim Bank in Africa. I used to go to Nigeria and Ghana at least once every year in Cameroon. And in those markets, they are very much Americanized. They are waiting for American interaction and involvement. Unfortunately, as you know, it's too far for us to get there sometimes, so they've been very much neglected, and the Chinese have already gone in there and done a lot. But most of these other countries are looking for American involvement. Okay, they still value our products and our services tremendously. I always tell my exporters, you know, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a very long process. But when you get involved, you achieve a couple things. You usually can get a better profitability on your products because you can sell for a higher price. People like American goods and services, and they know it's reliable and dependable. But you can also get a bigger volume sale. So what you're selling to your neighboring cities and states is a fraction of what you could achieve by selling someone in Mexico who doesn't have any of what you've been selling there before. That size is also quadruple if you go to India or China, where just the people there are just tremendous. Okay, so think big. We have supported a number of companies in my market in the last year with transaction attacks. So as a bank, we can provide support via trade services, which are things like letters of credit, standby LCs, documentary collections, but we also do trade financing. And that's where we can give you working capital support to help you build more widgets, for instance, to meet that large order, and also support your local business here in the US. I can tell you for companies that were exporting from 2008 on, experienced a tremendous upside. Because during that period of time, when the US economy turned down, the global market was still humming along at 5–10% growth rates. So it's very important that you also consider diversifying your revenue stream. I don't think we all have one stock in our investment portfolio, and nor should you. So you should not be selling to just one market in the entire world when the whole world needs your product. So if you're diversified from 08 to 014, you experience, if not a maintaining of your sales levels, even an increase. Because the volume demand was that more overseas. And as our economy slowed down, the emerging markets was going through the roof. Now, unfortunately for me, and for some of us, the economy has done a reverse. Our economy, even at 1–2%, was growing faster than everybody else the past 2–3 years. And right now, with our strong dollar, it's going to be an overhang for a while. But we have tools that can help you sell your products into foreign markets in which the strong dollar can still make your product attractive. Okay, because the foreign exchange fluctuation is really impacting businesses right now. So if you're selling overseas in dollars, we can help you sell your products in local currency to make you competitive with other suppliers. I'm not sure exactly where you want to take this, but basically, I just echo what was being said earlier. The global opportunity is tremendous. We as a bank here in Charlotte will be a good partner to help you figure out ways to mitigate repayment risk when you're selling abroad, and also give your foreign buyers a longer repayment terms. Because a lot of times when you sell into someone in Australia or China, it takes about 35–40 days on the ocean. And they are always asking for longer repayment terms. And we can help you with that type of situations. I guess I'll tell you a little story about a company I worked with last year. They were doing railroad train technology. And they could tell you when the tracks needed to be replaced. A small company in Georgia, and they were like $10 million in revenue, $7 million in revenues. And they landed a $35 million contract in Australia for 2 years. And we were able to help them structure where in which they got a huge down payment of 50% that covered all their overhead, all their costs, because that's such a huge gross margin in there. But the company on the other side asked them to give them back an advanced payment guarantee, where in which they give you money up front, they give them a bank guarantee. We could issue the guarantee under a program at the US Exim Bank and SBA, which allowed them to collateralize the standby LC only up to 25%. So of the $10 million contract they got in the first year, they got $5 million from the foreign buyer. We put an LC up to cover that $5 million and only collateralizing $1.5 million. So he got $3.5 million to start his operation, to start his story. We could advance on those inventories and the AR to give him more working capital to meet the contract. So that's where we took the company from being $7 million in revenues to now $30 million overnight, basically. And as you can know, when you grow that fast, there's a lot of challenges with meeting their large orders. And the banks are not really willing to help you. So I definitely recommend you guys also partner with this firm here, but also the government has a number of programs, whether it's Exim Bank or SBA, to help companies grow when they're going overseas.
He really wants to ask one question. You want to ask a question?
Actually, I have one question, and it is actually to all the audience. And I'm asking also myself the same thing, so I just came up with the question now. For somebody American who is going to China to buy a certain product, let's say a certain set of products from a Chinese factory. Going to China, and buying from them and making the transaction between his bank in US and the manufacturers or the factory, the company bank in China. If he finds the same bank that he used to deal with in here, in his own comfort zone, he finds it in, let's say, well, will he deal with the bank that he used to see back home? Obviously, the answer will be he will deal with the same brand that he's seen back home. Right? And we know very well that US and China trade balance is among the top largest trade balances so far. So for relations between China and other countries, the largest or second largest, correct me if I'm right, I'm not sure. Is it the largest trade balance between China and US? So between China and the US is the largest trade balance for both commodities, resources, goods. So for Americans that will go into China, first thing they will do when they see the same brand they have in the US, they would open their bank accounts in China. And that is first thing. Then how US is perceived in China, that's the second thing too. US as a brand, as the pioneer in economy, in technology, in education. Who started all this? The Industrial Revolution. Isn't it the US? So US itself as a brand entering China is also a second factor that shows clearly that, the second factor that shows the success that might come out of this. Of course, there are many other elements, 3, 4, 5 factors. Second question, is your bank over-deposited or under-deposited? The bank, your bank. Is it under-deposited or over-deposited?
You're talking about from a capital ratio standpoint.
Yes, deposit and then deployment, leverage, basically.
Well,
So,
as far as, basically the rules and regulations set in place by
well capitalized. So you are over-deposited. Over-deposited and less leverage. This system matches very well with China, because China, even though many Chinese have their money in the bank, Chinese banks are still under-deposited because there are tremendous opportunities to deploy the money, and they wish to have more money to deploy because there are lots of opportunities. So Chinese banks are under-deposited, over-leveraged. US banks are over-deposited, under-leveraged. And so, as you see, from even a technical point of view, as you are a banker, technically, this is a perfect match between country and another, as we are talking about majority of banks in China and majority of banks in US. Basically, what over deposit or under deposit is that the bank has lots of money and not many investment opportunities. or has little money and lots of investment opportunities. And so whether they are under deposited and use lots of leverage, or they are over deposited and they use little leverage. And so as you see for both China, under deposited, lots of leverage, they have lots of investment opportunity. The US is the opposite. Under deposited, over deposited, less leverage. Thank you.
I have a question. What are the main barriers for American banks going to China?
There's no real main barriers. The Chinese economy is well banked. And I think it's important to point out that the banking system is, in any country, is very highly regulated. So it's enough to get yourself comfortable with your local regulation before you want to go invest in somebody else's. What banks do very well is that we partner a lot. Okay, so one thing that's good about Regions Bank as a super regional bank, we have a number of banking relationships in country to facilitate what our needs are, and more importantly, the needs of our customers. So the thing about banking is that you don't actually have to have a brick and mortar in country to facilitate support for your clientele or do transactions. You can partner with local banks in country, and that's what we do. So banks all communicate on the SWIFT system, where we can send telex daily, which we do, and that's how we facilitate transactions back and forth. But there's no, overwhelming barrier other than just, the opportunities where we can benefit from being here and partner with banks over there and not want to get into all that regulation.
At this time, we'd like to open up the questions from the audience. Thank you.
Ladies first. Thank you. My name is Marva Morris, and I'm CEO of ZenEdge USA. We're a rapidly growing energy drink company based in Western Pennsylvania. We have a healthy alternative to all the bad press about energy drinks. We are a healthy alternative. No artificial sweeteners, a third less caffeine. Master Iraj and also Mr. McTeer. I heard Mr. McTeer mention that you are working with the Exim Bank. And since I've just recently received a contract with Future Trends, one of the things that I'm looking to do, of course, is to fund my opportunity. And earlier, Master Raj mentioned that in the past 10 years, the U.S. has become more horizontal in terms of opening up to foreign opportunities. And previously, the U.S. economy was vertical. I may not be saying it exactly the way you said it, but when you talked about the Exim Bank, it kind of started getting me a little concerned because under the new administration, they're talking about defunding it, and I've been hearing a lot of negative press about what they're going to do with that. Is that true, or do you think the current climate, and I'm not trying to make this a political conversation, but do you think that the current climate in the U.S. is going to be good for small business and international trade? This is for both of you, or do you think it's going to be bad?
I need to interject here. Those of you that have questions, if I can just ask you to line up on his side, so as I pass the mic this way, I can also pass the mic. Agreed?
First of all, let me just export credit agency of the U.S. And they provide support to exporters trying to penetrate foreign markets. I think there are like 58 other ECAs around the world that are just salivating if we were to close our doors in DC. Having worked at Exim Bank, I know very well firsthand the benefits they provide to small companies as well as the Boeings and the Gs that people want to talk about. We should always remember that when they say Boeing's bank, Boeing is supported by a number of small businesses on those contracts, the same with GE. Exim Bank is also fully funded with no taxpayer dollars. They charge enough fees for their programs and their services to pay for themselves. So unfortunately, we are in an environment where our politicians are not very well educated or knowledgeable on what Exim Bank is and what they do, and this is on both sides. I will be at the Exim Bank conference in the first week of April, so hopefully I'll have more information I can share with you as far as their sustainability going forward. But they are self-funding right now. I'm assuming that once the president gets more information, he will actually tinker it to make it even more aggressive. I can tell you EDC in Canada, SACI in Italy, other ECAs around the world, Sinosure in China, are much more aggressive and do a lot more for their exporters than Exim Bank does. But it depends on what size you are. SBA is a great alternative. There's an SBA Export Working Capital Program. They just have different size limitations and requirements, but they're a good program as well for helping small companies start exporting. So I think it's still a debate right now what's going to happen with Exim Bank. I cannot say I know for sure.
Echoing what you have said, basically, we don't have the crystal ball to say it's going to go this way definitely or it's going to go the other way. But generally, we know that the whole world is becoming a lot more interdependent. And looking at the trend back and forth with some ups and downs, the only way to go is up. Yes, there are some hiccups on the way, ups and downs, you know, but in general, if you draw a flat line throughout maybe a decade or two from the trend, you will see that generally the only way to go is up. And the key is to see where the nation is going in building their trade with other nations based on their demand, based on the supplies of the other side. And bottom line is that if you are watchful about what the trend is, you will not miss the boat. You will go with the trend and you will not lose. So that's just in a general, without having the crystal ball in my hand, this is what I feel.
Got a book.
Good morning and good afternoon. Brought me on. She trusted me enough to make good decisions, me representing people that I don't know. And I'm born and raised here in Charlotte. So I'm going to be working with the Charlotte team. And I need to make sure that if I'm representing a company in Charlotte, North Carolina, I can represent them well. Does that make sense? Yes, sir. So I have two questions. I'm going to narrow it down, but I had more, but the two most important as of right now. Because I heard mention about the U.S. dollar. I didn't think it was that strong right now worldwide. I thought we were losing ground. And I wanted to get an understanding about that and how that look in terms of our market strategy when we do go in certain countries that have a major service need. That's the first question. The second question is, what will Trend, ITF, Trend, and Beasley Bank, what will you two partnering up together look like for businesses coming in to take advantage of your opportunity you're giving businesses, especially for Charlotte, North Carolina, and surrounding areas, that wants to expand their companies in terms of when it looks like we want to take advantage and jump on the opportunity to expand, yet when a loan do come in for $30 million to build a highway or some school construction, but we know that when it comes to exporting that material, it's going to eat up our money. So what is the guarantee that not only facilitating, but holding that company's hand in negotiating to find out if we can't get it from America at a price that is fair, reasonable, conventional, that somebody done did the homework where we can go to another country, to Italy or go to Australia, make make money. And if I'm saying that correctly, I want to make sure everybody's understanding what I'm asking. Because we don't want to go in losing money in the first time around. Do y'all understand?
If, if nobody wants to take the mic first.
I'll answer the easy part, and you guys can talk about the guarantee. Because as a banker, we don't give guarantees. But basically, yes. In the last 18 to 24 months, the U.S. dollar has strengthened. I've been going to Canada for years now, and finally our dollar is strong in Canada. So basically, this means you can buy more in foreign countries. So it was always 95 cents to a dollar, and now it's like 1 to 125, so we can get more. The biggest has been companies like that sell to Mexico. Mexico went from 1 to 14 pesos, now down to 17, 18 pesos. What that means is that you need those $4 pesos more for every dollar. So it makes a difference in selling to those markets. Against the euro, the pound, and most countries, currencies, we're strengthening. A lot of it is macro, political, as you can imagine, like I mentioned before, we were growing at 1.5% in the last, pretty much the entire 8 years of the Obama presidency. Everyone else was not growing at all. Okay, they were actually growing negative. It was not growing at all. In Europe or the markets, it was not growing at all. So our 2%, as bad as it was for us, the rest of the world is not even growing. So that is precipitated our dollar getting stronger, as it will be strong for the next couple of years. And banks can help you provide hedging tools to help you receive foreign currency and convert when the currency was 1 to 20. And in June, when your buyer owes you those 20 pesos for every dollar, it goes to 25. You know, we can still take those 20 pesos and give you that $1. Versus everybody else will have to get 25 pesos. So he can now still remain competitive in selling your products in his country, even though he has a dollar cost and local revenue sales. Okay? So we can help you with all those lines. As far as the guarantees and other things,
Why you passing the mic? One of the most important things is the countries that trend is partnering with. The other countries is okay. Mexico's not on that list. But the countries that are on your list is our concern. What's going to be more important about the competition of the dollar amount and their strengthening.
What I was going to say, of course, there is no guarantee anywhere, right? But we know that there are a couple of things. As far as China is concerned, China renminbi has always been locked into dollar. Dollar goes up, renminbi goes up. Dollar goes down, in the international arena, renminbi goes down. Also, a few months ago, China's renminbi was officially accepted by International Money Fund as a tradable currency along with US dollars, English pound, euro, German mark, and Japanese yen. So renminbi has entered that International Money Fund tradable currency. So that gives more pressure thing. And as far as investments and companies going into, let's say, China and the Middle East and other prosperous countries where throughout the last 9 or 10 years where the US economy has been kind of stagnant and going down, they have had continuous growth. When you go to these countries, there are no guarantees, but from previous success stories, you will see that you have a lot of incentives given to you. For example, tax write-offs, or first year or 3 years of tax-free transfers, or land for your factory being given at a discounted rate. A lot of incentives that make it very profitable for US and European companies to expand and establish their operations in those countries. And we at Future Trends, through our connections, are able to help you, to be your partner, shoulder to shoulder, help you get the best deal out of this venture where we go into other countries and expand.
Okay, I will try also to add on, build up onto what my colleagues have already built. When it comes to currencies, and when we look at both currencies, the dollar and the renminbi, it don't used to be an international currency for players from outside China in the year 2000, 2002, 2008, until 2010. 2011 was the first, I think, click with Russia, between Russia and China, or 2012. But let's say when country or major player from outside China comes into China or wants to buy goods, they usually use international currencies, the ones that Mr. Iraj just now listed. Why they do that? Because when they use a non-international currency, first, there are very few institutions that allow you to make such transactions. Very few. Second, it is very risky. It is very risky to use a non-international transaction. First, it's almost impossible. So there are very, very few players that do that. And second, it's very risky to use a non-international currency. Why? Because an international currency is subject to market fluctuation. People buy and people sell, and that's at the end of the day which will set the price. Like, for example, the dollar floats on the market, and then you have different players that buy into it, different players that sell it. What's keeping the dollar strong, we don't, I mean, without coming into details and into politics, but mainly is the petrodollar. So when a country from outside, let's say when Russia, it is not the case now, but let's do both examples. When Russia wants to buy, wants to sell oil to China, before China had to convert its renminbi into dollars to buy the oil, hand them on into Russia, right? So that system of buying the currency in the market keeps the dollar relatively strong. This is one reason why the dollar is strong. Second reason is like the engines, car engines. You know, the segments of the car engine. You know, governments have different tools. It's like a piano. They have 4, 5, 7 tools to either to increase interest rate, decrease interest rate, or to actually each tool is used for a specific thing, and then a combination of tools makes an end result. And so governments usually use these tools to increase or to either undervalue or overvalue their currency. So the message behind this is that dollar is actually, the dollar value is fluctuating on the market, and it is set by the world, by the players that comes in and comes out of the market. When it comes to risk now, okay, when it comes to risk, we cannot, of course, guarantee that China will fall or will not fall, or that US will not fall, or that, but there are different agencies that can cover your credit risk. And it's like an insurance. You buy a car, you insure the car in an insurance company, and you pay a small percentage or small value, so then you are at ease. You come out and come in, and if we don't want something bad to happen, but if something bad happens, the insurance will cover your credit risk losses. So as you see, there are no guarantees from our brother exchange rate. Guarantees, there are different tools to control them and to have. It's like an insurance. You buy a fixed rate for a period of time, 6 months or a year, and then you buy your guarantee. We do not offer such products because we are not specialized in this. We have choose to shift into other businesses. We ourselves, I presented earlier our brothers. Probably you offer such tools, and probably not. But there are different banks and different institutions that offer such things. Okay.
I think you narrowed it, and everything everyone said was enough for me to understand and to answer 88% of the question. The 12%, the 22% left would be, I guess it comes to the different teams that set up in different parts of the country in terms of what our homework would be when I have a company, Quick Route Communications, gets the contract with China and Dubai, and they want them to export major coax cores to put up certain integrated systems. My question would be, is the homework already done on our side, ITF, or would the homework need to be done on the bank industry side in terms of what company we need to purchase our coax cabling from to tell our American company, hey, listen, you got this contract, but you don't need to buy it from Team A or X, you need to get it from here. Different countries that sell the same coax code at a certain price to make sure that he's getting the big bang for his dollar so he can export very nicely.
My limited knowledge too, I will try as best as I can to answer your question. Okay? To make a meeting room, you need tables, chairs, laptops, and projectors. And there are designers and interior architects that make these things. They are expert at this. And they used to bring different sets of products and sell them to hotels.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is the expertise of somebody. Okay. What we offer is we are not teaching somebody his expertise. We are not teaching you how to purchase these tools and put them in one meeting room. What we are teaching you and helping you to do is doing what you're already doing within a certain comfort region, take you outside of your comfort zone and help you doing it into different other regions and educate you and help you, giving you the right network until it becomes your non-comfort zone, until it becomes your comfort zone. And so when it comes to sourcing, we did that, but we did it as a different contract. When I was in UAE in 2011, we were doing Amar, which is the largest developer in Middle East, property developer. Amar is a large group that is a developer. They build houses, they build buildings, they make different things. We came in and suggested to them to come into China and to set up a purchasing arm in China, because we knew very well that buying don't pay and a trend to go for, And they also knew that. And they used to buy from China, but without having a base. We came to them, we said, okay, we won't be your sourcing arm. We will not tell you, don't buy this laptop from here, buy it from here. No. We are suggesting to you, because you are doing things with China, we are suggesting to you to come into China. We will set up your entry strategy, we will formulate it, we will implement your entry strategy, have the office, hire the teams, and have different players and partners that will support you with the network. And we will support you reach to, because China is a very large country, and there are thousands of suppliers, millions of suppliers. And so we will support you reach out to suppliers, and we will also connect you with different networks, but we won't teach you your job. Your job is to get these things together and to give them to an end user, which you have done for several times. What we're trying to do, and that's the difference, what we're trying to do is to help enhance that existing value, or help take that value and plant it like seed in different other countries to become the same value you had, but at larger scale. This is why we call this operation copy stamping. Copy stamp your success. If you are already successful in US, we have the elements and tools and know-how and network to copy stamp that success within 3 to 5 years period into different other regions. Okay?
Thank you.
I'm Thelma Barnes Bailey, and I live here in Charlotte. As a retired senior citizen and currently serving my community as an elected official, I'm not interested in becoming an entrepreneur at this point in my life. But I am interested in, and I don't have millions of dollars to be one of these investment gurus. I can't remember what they call it. Anyway, but is there an opportunity for a small investor to take advantage of the growth that you're talking about in China and other emerging markets without having to wait for the companies to come on the public market?
Sorry, just for your formulation, is there a chance for US-based players to come into China and invest with losing smaller chunks of money?
Individuals, not companies. Individual investors.
Small investor, what range are you talking about? $1 million, $2 million, or half million?
Smaller than that. 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, that's small.
Yeah. No matter where you are in the whole scheme of things, as smaller opportunities arise, everyone has a chance. Now, equal chance, I don't know, because the more money you have, money is power, right? So, but there are opportunities, and join forces and find similar or smaller venture development or service companies that are in need of small capitals in China. Okay? The magnitude is large in China, but there's also small, because some areas, they need, like smaller rural areas, there aren't opportunities for huge development unless there is a certain niche or certain worldwide demand. But in general, you know, the smaller the operation is, or the smaller the buying power is, you can join forces. 10 small operations make a medium-sized operations. Okay? And you can find your counterparts that are looking for that range. You know, and our job is to match. We are a matchmaker. Okay? We are an advisor, we are a consultant that does not tell you what to do or what not to do in your operation, as Mohammed mentioned, but we are like a doctor. You come to us with your symptoms. You tell us honestly what's wrong with you, what are some of the things that are not just right in your operation, and what are you looking into achieving, your optimization. And based on your true, honest opinion and sharing of where you are and where you want to be, we will diagnose and we will give you the right optimization scheme.
Ma'am, the U.S. stock market is at 21,000 today, so you're probably better off playing with that market right now.
It's a wonderful thing that we have had a full forum as of yet, and we are well ahead of our agenda, well ahead. We have been accelerated, and that is largely to the energy and what you have allowed us to do today, so we're thankful for that. And so in about 10 minutes or so, we will be ending, for the most part, our forum. Now, I have a question to pose. If there is other questions, we want to take this time to really get those questions answered. So we're going to be able to continue on so that we can get a lot of the questions that you may have answered. And so I just wanted to let you know that we're pretty much coming to a close for what we have prepared. If there's anything else that you would like for Mohammed to address or any one of the other panels to address, you certainly are welcome at this time. So we are truly in Q&A time, well accelerated ahead of our schedule. So we can be ending a lot sooner than we had anticipated, as well as we can stay a little longer because we have that window of time that has been allotted because you have graciously allowed us to accelerate this program at this time.
Hello, my name is Ruth Hicks, and we have a manufacturing company here in the United States, and we sell to 4,000 Walmarts. We sell to all the major distributions. We've also sell to a lot of the supply stores in the country. We also do business with Regions Bank. We love Regions Bank. My question is, we also do some international exporting in a small way, but we like to expand it, say like in Africa. Are you saying that you will assist us in who the distributors are that we can get our products to those people, and what does that cost us? If that's true, how, with us working with you to get our products in the market?
The answer is yes, we are able to help you. We will, again, one of our jobs is a matchmaking job, trying to find, based on, once we assess your capabilities and your needs and your expansion goals, your future marketing plans, whether short-term, mid-term, or long-term. Once we know that, we are able to put you in touch with a partner or business partner or consumer or similar operation that can accentuate what you're doing in those foreign markets.
I will also add a few sentences to what my colleagues have already put. And thank you for your question. To have a clearer and more transparent answer. I love to talk to companies, and when people are so humble, and they would say, we are now making some level of sales at the international, but very small. And I talk to both sides of companies. I talk to companies in China and in the US, both, and internationally. I would say, first question, how much do you make in your local market? How much of your turnover is made in your local market? Many of the companies, they would say, we make 100%, and we did not yet go outside. And that is the main and those companies, there are so many of them, and the thing is that when you did not yet taste what is in there, you want or have seen or have met people that have tasted what is in there and they told you about their successful experience, you will never hazard and go international and go sell abroad. I meet some companies that say, okay, we are making 70-80% of our turnover in US, 10 to 20% outside. And I guess this is your case, right? Hmm? Yes, okay. With that, this is already a big step. Turning or the leaders of the company you work with actually changing their, it's basically changing all the basis for business and definition for business. And rather than having limits, rather than we have limits, we are now in this room and we consider that we are in the meeting room. We would say we are not in the meeting room, we are not in this room, we are at the hotel. And the hotel is probably 10 times bigger. It is like the concept that Mr. Iraj earlier explained. From township, we move to cities, and from cities to country. And now we're not talking about countries, we're talking about continents. And then now is the new trend. Last 10 years, everybody was talking about internationalization and abolishing barriers and abolishing visas and one language for all the world and outside US and 80% turnover inside US. First, that 100% turnover, you can multiply it many times, and that 20% outside within 10 years, if your leaders, yourself, the teams make the right move, within 5-8 years from now, you will be answering, we make 80% of our turnover outside and 20% of our turnover inside, and that is the right way to go. Because when it comes to international business, really, literally, the sky is the limit. There is no limit. You have a product, you want to sell it. Now your market is 200 million, 250 million people within US borders. Then you are coming out and you are not selling to 250 million. You are selling to 7 billion people. 1.5 of them are Chinese, but still 7 billion people. And then having a market share of 1%, let's say, we won't say that you will cover 7 billion people at a time, but having 1% of 5 countries like US, 7 countries like US is 1% of China only. And 1% of China only is already reasonably large. So you see the leverage we are talking about. Going international is not about tapping. Of course, it is the process of tapping one country, making few sales, then tapping larger and then growing within that country. And that's a very natural process. We are all human. And this is the message we say to Chinese too. And it is very international. The most international thing, okay? When I am in my country, I tend to spend more in my business. When you are in your country, you tend to spend more money. You ask a Chinese guy, okay, let's say Chinese and Americans, as I said, is very international. A Chinese would organize a 3-day event around his corporation. In China, he might spend $2 or $3 million easy, because he's spending the money within his own comfort zone. This is psychology. We're not anymore talking about business. This is psychology, and this is how people, they feel comfort. Within your own country, you feel comfortable to spend the money. If they ask you to do the same thing in Dubai, and to have a 3-day event at Armani Hotel or at whatever hotel, and to spend the same budget you are spending in the US, it's not that you won't do it. There are much more barriers you need to go through. First, the barrier of not knowing that element or that country. You don't know Dubai. I mean, I'm not talking about specifically Dubai, but as example, you might have traveled 10 times or maybe more, but not knowing that region and not knowing enough players will let you be more reluctant and you will be more comfortable doing that in a country where you grew and you have already tapped and you know very well. And this is the main barrier internationally. And when a company comes out once and tastes, as we say, when we taste once honey, we always, so when you come out once and make sales in one country and it is successful, and you make, and then you don't stop. You already secured your local market and your local borders, and then you will try to make your borders our world. Okay, the world will be the borders. The sky will be the limit. No limit. I meet several companies. It was a time when I used to meet at least 4 or 5 companies a day that have different technologies and machines for oil and gas. What they used to do, Chinese, they used to stay in China and try to make sales outside China through different channels. But these channels are all of them very classic, like either internet or their websites, they wait for foreigners to contact them and communicate with them, or from time to time, at most, they would cold call international oil companies and propose them to sell, and propose them their products and continue communication by email. One of the things earlier we talked about, and Dr. Farzam used to do about 20, 25 years ago, and I already got initiated to that, and I did my round, did my way too, is actually one of these things is helping somebody. First, the process of going international, it is first a process of changing not changing the way, basically how somebody thinks. Some people will think inside the box, some others will think outside the box. Think how many countries there are abroad, how many targets you can have. I mean, to how many people you can sell your products. Will you really be able to go a few times your size or not? Once you believe in that, then we can talk about going international. If you don't believe in that, if the bases are not there, then no need for you to go international. If somebody needs it really badly, he will go international. There are companies in China that did not 3 or 4 times their size. That went. I have a presentation here. I can tell you about some industries. They went few times. And if we know very well our target, our market, and how to enter it, then the process can be repeated many times. And if you do it once or twice with somebody who knows, and he teaches you very well the process, you will be able to do it yourself. It's like we help you walk, and then once you can walk and run, just will be doing it yourself.
What is the cost of that to become a part of a company? Because we're at the point where we can say we need to push out further. So you're helping us push out to the international markets.
No, it is not. It is not called. Sorry, it is not called helping pushing to the international market. There are, going international. It is not just going somewhere and making sales. Going international is a whole set of tools and a whole strategy to be formulated based on lots of, first based on how the leaders of an institution see themselves where they are within 10 years from now. It is not about market coverage. It has to do with a lot of other things. About market coverage is one of them, but then about branding, how people see your brand, how many people try your brand, and how do you go international? Do you go first to rich countries? Do you tackle mid-sized countries? Do you tackle large countries? Do you go on your own? Do you go through an agent? Do you go through a sole agent? Do you go through 2 or 3 players into one city, each city one player? I've placed companies in GCC, one company, placing them in one country through 3 or 4 different agents because the company wants to mitigate risk. They have 3 or 4 products and they want an agent for each set of products. It's very different.
So our competitors are everywhere.
Actually, you don't go everywhere. When I go to China, I can eat everything, but sometimes they put food that my mind tells me to eat, and sometimes they put food that my mind tells me not to eat. So that's a whole process. Okay, thank you.
1 second, Angie, if you don't mind. I would like to just point out that if anybody has any other questions for Mr. Thomas Mathis here from Regions Bank, he has another engagement he's got to go. If there's any questions that's directed for him to answer at this time. Okay. But no other questions at this time? Okay. Thank you, sir, for your time. We appreciate it.
I just wanted to lend from my personal experience to the woman in the back. What was your name again?
My name? Ruth Hicks.
Hello, Mrs. Hicks. Andrea Jeffress. From personal experience, I have a wiper blade company. I've talked personally to Mohammed about expansion and that process, and I also have worked from a business development standpoint as a consultant, bringing a company. Ms. Marva is my colleague and friend, and her energy drink company is about to join the Future Trends family for worldwide distribution, starting in China as well. And it's a process. Dr. Farzam, who was on the video conferencing earlier, wants to be presented your company in a certain fashion, more than 1 to 3 pages, very succinct and concise. He wants to know about your company, the financial projections, of course, your valuation, future earnings projections, and then you can also times it 10 times for China, 3 to 5 times for Europe, 10 times for India, for your future projections to give him some idea about how your business can expand or hyper jump. And then of course there will be an equity proposition or what your marketing potential and what your marketing budget that you've set aside. So, and it's different for each company because you're asking, what does it cost? One, how do I do it? So that's the process, number one, just from a practical standpoint. How do you do it? Come with whoever referred you today, whoever your contact is, submit your white paper, schedule your conference. It can be in person, it can be by video, it can be by Skype, it can be by conference call. Once you have your meeting scheduled, they'll go over your business proposal or your white paper, and they will tell you based on what your business is. Everyone's business is different. So your fee is going to be different than Ms. Marva's fee. Okay. It's going to be different from my fee. I do wiper blades. So you have, it's hard to have an answer to say, what does it cost? You know, because that's what you really want to know. What is it going to take? But rather than think of it in terms of cost, think of it in terms of your marketing dollars. What is it going to take for you to hire staff in the distribution channels that you desire, to pay the tariffs and the fees that are available when you go over to meet the people and entertain and all that. So you have to put that in terms of a budget. And you pay that fee and they coordinate it for you. That's what we do. And so it will be different for each person, very tailor-made. And it hasn't taken long. I mean, like I said earlier, we drove 12 hours to sign our deal today. I want to get a hand clap. Okay? So these companies and these business deals are going to come to fruition, and it's easy to do. You say, how do I do it? What does it cost? Submit your proposal, your white paper, through your consultant. Follow the process. For the other business consultants in the room, you have the list of projects that are available. I have tapped my own warm market. I've called people I know. I called Ms. Marva because I said, you have to come. You have to see what's the opportunity that lies before you. And she's comfortable. She's doing well already, and it's a risk. So these are things that you can do as business consultants. Follow the process. It's not hard, and it's not complicated, and it's not long. 1 to 3 pages is not long. So fill it out, do your homework, your due diligence, and most companies will then do their due diligence on you. I've had several deals on the table so far, and every person who's done the due diligence on this company has come back and asked me, who are these people? They are impeccable. And when multiple people have done their due diligence and gone through the channels, through the highest levels of intelligence, and that's remarkable. So I just want to give that as a personal, more not so much a personal endorsement, but from experience.
One,
Kelly, before everybody moves, I want to be able to say this because I want people that are here to have the same opportunity. They didn't really talk about the death of the different sectors.
I don't mean to interject. Just hold that 1 second. 1 second.
Good afternoon, I'm Juanita Miller, and I'd like to thank you all for your presentation. It was absolutely exceptional. You all did a wonderful job. Actually, young lady, you answered one of my questions that I had in mind with regard to the process. And so I would imagine if we brought several businesses to the table, we would have to also have them go through that particular process in order to be approved. Well, to that end, though, also I read in some of your writings that you have a connection with Iran. Is that correct? Can you elaborate on the restrictions that you have in doing business there?
For sake of time, and I do not want to lose anymore, and I want to get to the bottom of everything else, and there's not too many more things that we have to do. That can be answered. I'm going to answer that. I'm going to have that answered to you. I think it's a little bit more in depth to just answer it, and there's also a political piece to it too, and we're not politicians. So I assure you, I'm going to answer it. We're going to address that. Before you leave today, we will address that, okay? We will address it. I promise you we'll address it.
Okay, specifically about Iran, yes, we do showcase not all the sanctions have been lifted, but the good news is that some of the sanctions are being lifted. Now, we don't necessarily do direct business matchmaking between US and Iran because of those restrictions. But there are some other countries, let's say Middle Eastern countries and Iran, or North African countries and Iran, where they don't have these sanctions in place. So most of the actions take place with those free zones or countries that do not have economic sanctions, ties or restrictions with Iran. But hopefully Iran, realizing that they cannot survive in seclusion, that they need to come out and be a world player, slowly these sanctions, these limitations will be lifted up. Similar to, for example, Burma, where after so many years of military being in charge, they promised fair elections and the doors are opening, the sanctions are being lifted, and it's just a huge area, arid, no water, just like sand. And you pour buckets and buckets and it disappears just like this. There is market for it. So there are going to be markets in countries like that, but right now there is no direct, large-scale relationships honoring those sanctions.
Hello. Talking in public, always fun. Well, I think we have a meeting tomorrow, Mohammed. I think we're talking with Kelly, but I guess I may not be meeting with everyone. You having wiper blades, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but I guess that's important. With patent law and with the IPT and some of the countries not being in the IPT and the number of patents you have to file in each country to operate, how do you, I guess, work with the companies to try to not have the IP, just taken when you go into that market, and they can produce it for less. For instance, wiper blades. That's not something that we do, of course, but it's more in the agricultural market. So I guess that's an open-ended question. Really, how do you, ensure that the investment dollars to try to expand there does not create an enormous competitor? So, and that's it.
Okay, so the question mainly is about the IP, intellectual property, right? We have a saying, we always say, in business, basically, when doing international business, usually there is the contract, the carrot, and the stick. And I will explain which one, each of them is of course, any corporation or any technology owner must make sure to protect himself and go through lawyer and go through the IP offices to protect his technology. So that's the contract. That's the basics of international business. You go to a new market, you try to protect your design, your technology, and you register it, and it is for you at your name. Then let's do a country like China, very large country, and we have had players that came in through us or came in on their own and thought that they are doing great business, and after a year or two, they see pitfalls. And they come back to us and they say, okay, we came to China, they brought us here, we thought that it was a win-win situation, and now it is a win-lose situation. We are not making money because there are 3, 4 different competitors that are building or making the same thing as we're making, using our own name and selling it in China. And we say, do you have the right protection? They said, yes, we have the right protection. And this is why I said earlier, contract, carrot, and stick. Okay. So usually every player that comes into a new market protects himself with a contract. But then coming into a new market, okay, going into a new region, if you come in from the big door through the high-level players and the decisioner in that country, and you have them from your side, you have already half protection. And that is basically steering the ears of somebody that does not follow the right system. You have your patent, somebody else is trying to compete with you. You can try to take him to court, but then things, of course, not only in China, or worldwide, this is very international. Okay? If you know the people and you know very well the decisioners, you are sure, if you don't know anybody and you fight for your rights, sometimes it's 70% done thing. You are protected and you will have your right. But if you go through the natural process and also you know the people and you know that they are from the right side, you are at 100% protection. So basically this is what I mean. Going through somebody, and I'm not trying to vent future trends or Dr. Farzam, Mr. Raj, all our teams, or myself. Without really venting or talking a lot about this, but in China we have so many supporters. First, Dr. Farzam, when he first went there, he has served so many people for free. Served them, just for the sake of service. because he and his family, now we go into more personal thing. We know each other for 10 years and I know him very well. He's my big brother. He and his family, I know most of his family members. And they are into giving to people and uplifting people and empowering people and helping them. And he's done this in China, in Middle East and around the world. And he has so many friends in China that are now either governors, either vice governors, personal friendship. I'm not talking about business partnership or business friendship. So personal friends for 10, 15, 20 years. Those people he has already helped. He has already supported somehow. They came across his road, across his way, and he helped them, uplifted them, or did something for them. The same for Middle Eastern. And with this, having that is such an asset that in case any of our, and we do this not with this money, how you can repatriate this money back. These are, when you come into a country, before you come in, you should also consider how you can come out. You can take your assets and you can come out. And with such systems we have built, we have the right protections. And for when it comes to IP, we have the people in hand. And those people can support us. Okay, so it is, first is the contract, and I totally agree, that's the right way to do it. But in some countries, the contract is not enough protection. Protects you at 60%, 70%. There are always people that will come in, will like what you do, and will try to do the same thing. And that's, in many people, it's a natural thing. And so to protect yourself, you should have the right people from the right side behind you that are supporting you and defending your rights. Okay? Is this answering your question? Somehow?
You're the big stick.
You got it.
I'll just add, just from our experience to the deals that we've done, we had to take care of the intellectual property portion on our own. The enforcement, we've been reassured that they are the big stick because they have the highest level of governmental contacts. We've been assured that the stick will be used. But as far as the fees used to do that, we have to do our own international intellectual property resources. We have to use our own resources to, apply to do all the form for each separate country to have a proposal and marketed and the distribution channels created. That fee is not wrapped up in that, at least for our USIS company.
Also, it's saying that I have lived it actually. We have some people, this happened to them when we bring you, when somebody brings you to his house, you make sure that you come in happy and you come out happy. Or you come in happy and you stay happy. And so we have different experiences, even with, with many players, but at least some of them. Sometimes we have good opportunity with a company that we have helped them grow, taking them public. We do the roadshow, we want to raise for them money. Some players inject $2, $3 million. Then it is listed and then an incident happens. And incidents happen everywhere. That does not mean we are doing things that sometimes incidents happen. And things turn to be not as expected. And we have had this a few times actually. Once I remember very well with a Chinese company that was going public. And we have helped them. We did the round, the capital raising round in Middle East. And we talked to Kuwaitis, Qataris, Emiratis, and these people, and they injected small chunks of investment. There was ticket size of $2 to $5 million, and there were few players injecting money. Then the company was listed. Right after the lockup period finishes, actually, after probably 8, 9 months or 10 months. There was that US-American short seller. He started spreading very bad information about the company and the value. SEC actually asked for the company to be delisted. And I'm sure you know what happens in that case. And so one of our partners and actually clients that has brought and injected money in this oil and gas company had his money basically gone. And so what we did is just we asked the owner of the company to give him back his couple $1 million, and then he's done. And then you can do together other things bigger. So when it comes to business, it is not thinking for the long term with people and trying to protect their rights as they would do for themselves. Is actually not only good for you. If we bring you and we protect you, we are not only protecting you, we are protecting the business we are having with you. Did you get the logic behind it? As long as we protect you and you are happy and you are making money, this is also the same is the case for us. We are happy and we are also making money. And for what we are doing all this? Not only for ourselves, ITF, KIEDC, the people, the whole world. And what we're doing, we do it well. Yes, that's the answer for IP protection. Okay?
Okay, great. We're going to close on that. So that's going to conclude our forum session for today for the panel. Can we give the panel a round of applause? And I want to say just one thing, that some of the questions that have yet to be answered and some of the questions that have been answered, can we all agree that we need to be educated on international trade? And that there should be a lot more conversations such as this in different types of atmospheres, different types of settings, and even if it's one-on-one. And so that transitions me into the fact that there are business consultants in the room. The people that have invited you here, that you have made a personal connection that has brought you here, that is who you go back to talk further with. Tomorrow, we have a full day planned of one-on-one meetings. So you have to see myself on the back of your program, the small folded booklet in your packets. My telephone number is there. My phone, for whatever reason, service is not off. It's this building, something's blocked. So as soon as I leave, I'll be able to get all my texts, all of my emails and things like that. Please text me or call me, leave me a message that you want to schedule a one-on-one or you want to schedule to meet and talk more about your particular idea, your particular product or service, your particular company, so we can take this a step further and have the necessary conversations. We can do that limited time tomorrow, so if you are available, tomorrow as scheduled, we will be at 237 South Tryon Street, Courtyard Marriott from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We are going to be in the Magnolia Room scheduling one-on-one appointments, and outside of that time, we can do conference calls and things like that. So I just want to make sure that we cover in a room. If somebody has invited you here and you have questions, get back to that person that has brought you or made.
I might also add that Wesley Dillon is the president of business development for the Future Trends USA Group. And what we would like to have everyone do is once you've developed your white paper, your proposal with your company or whoever you came with, whoever your personal relationship is, once you develop your paper, please submit it to Wesley. Wesley and I work very closely together to from the business consultant side to get your proposals in.
It starts with the business consultant. So we got to go back to the person who has made you aware of this, and that's the process to get everything submitted. The next thing I wanted to say, I talked about the one-on-ones tomorrow. I talked about just the need to be educated more on international trade. There's a lot more questions that people have, and we definitely want to get those answers. And I know that this is a professional atmosphere, and it is very strange to see a baby crawling into the front of the room. But I'll tell you, there is a long story. I cannot and will not get into it. It's not my story to tell. But I can tell you that there is a reason why these two children are in this room. And if I don't even want to start talking about it because it will make me teary-eyed. All of us in here are human beings, and yes, we are professionals, but we were all babies at one time. I don't know each one of your all's situations. I don't know how you came here. I don't know how you came to be. I don't know what family you belong to. But there are some children that are born into this world that the mother had. If you want to know the story, this is the woman to ask about the backdrop story. I know that some people may think it's unprofessional, and to a certain degree it is. But there is a reason why these children are in the room, so I really graciously thank you for your acceptance, your graciousness in understanding that there is a story. And if you want to know the story, you can ask Natasha Dillon. And so my name is Kelly Turner Cole, and it's been a long stretch breaking ground. Thank you, breaking ground to bring a forum of this nature here to Charlotte. This is only the first. It will not be the last, and we will be continuing to talk. You have my contact information. And at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to, I was supposed to be the last one, but then I ended up being the runner. So I'm going to turn it over for just 3 minutes to Ms. Natasha Dillon, who is the CEO of the U.S. side of Future Trends, the chairman, Ms. Natasha Dillon.
Thank you. But thank you for the Kelly Turner Cole, North Carolina Future Trends Regional Director, person in charge of this region. So if you are interested in becoming a consultant, this is the young woman, as Dr. Farzam said on our group. When I first saw Kelly, I knew she would be the one. So because of that, we're here today. And we just did our first USA International Trade Forum in October. And our first October event was so successful with the companies that came to the table. Our first International Trade Forum, I can't even think of any company that we're not at the table with that came to that forum. Some of them didn't do it then, some of them didn't do it in the now, but they did it in the future. And so we are now in different agreements. Every company, and I didn't want to leave here today because we have different people here today dealing in different sectors. So I wanted to make sure I had the opportunity to be able to converse with you about, don't think of any opportunity or any sector that we don't deal in. We deal in feminine industry, okay, entertainment. We got countries and government in Tunisia, Africa. Want the whole Hollywood entertainment to come into Tunisia, Africa through government. Central Africa, car, okay, China, Burma, China, the whole of products, services. So there is nothing that you cannot at least inquire. So that's why we have the intake form. So we evaluate any type of companies, any type of products, any type of services, except there's only one category we don't deal in, and that's in weaponry. That's in anything that's going to bring harm to individuals. That's the only thing that is off the cuff. And any and everything, it doesn't matter, even health-wise. So we don't just, in other words, we choose to service different, this type of company, and we'll come back with you real quick once you tell it to us. So if it's going to bring harm, and even though America may receive it, we, our brand, don't want to market certain types of products. So we choose the right to choose which types of products that we service. So I'm telling you up front. Other than that, you got film, you got industry. Right now, we got products. If I was a company, if you were a construction company right now, or infrastructure company right now, or services company right now, I will get a B2B meeting with Dr. Mohammed Gerard. Don't leave, don't let him leave the city. Matter of fact, he's gonna stand behind. Matter of fact, pick up the phone and start calling all of your people. Make them busy. So he's gonna be very, very busy. He's gonna stick around until Monday. But right now, you want to get on the road. So Kelly, in other words, when we leave the city, the scheduled meetings tomorrow for the B2B go through Kelly, but you need to know that there are other opportunities because he'll be here because he has to meet a slew of companies on Monday. So he's sticking behind a little bit. So I wanted to say that to say we have film, we have media, we have technology, and all of the sectors. So don't agriculture. I mean, we got companies, and then some companies, sometimes you may not have the capital, but you have a high level, cutting edge product or technology. You might want to go ahead and inquire about those type of companies too. Because there might be a company, like Dr. Muhammad said, waiting to match with you. In other words, they coming with the finances, you coming with the technology. So it all depends on there's different scenarios. So you need a base of funding, but then some companies are so high level, companies will come after you. So because Muhammad may have something inside his bosom that a company or a country is waiting for. Government contact us to say, can you match us with these type of companies? We have delegations that come all the time. So I wanted to say thank you, number one, and number two, if you want to grow, you must go. So that's all you have to know. If you want to grow, you must go. Thank you very much for Future Trends International and Future Trends USA.
I just want to thank you again for taking your time out of your busy schedules to be here today to learn and just understand that this is just the beginning. I so appreciate you being here, being attentive and listening. And if you have any questions, please make sure that I get your contact information and I can start scheduling those meetings so that you can have those questions answered and have those talks. Astrid, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here. And so this concludes our presentation, and Curtis, do you have anything to say? Once again, thank you so very much, and I look forward to speaking with you all. Make sure that I get your contact information. Have a great evening. Thank you, and God bless.